Hello, my name is Johnny, and I support horror. So I recently saw the movie poster for a film called Rent-A-Pal, and I knew right away before I even watched the trailer that I was going to review it. I had a feeling it was going to be very obscure and more character-driven. Those weird, creepy loner-type characters are my favorite. I wonder why. So yeah, the movie poster hooked me in, the trailer piqued my interest even more, so I gave it a shot. Now let's talk about it, horror fam. Rent-A-Pal is a horror thriller movie written and directed by Jon Stevenson. This was his first feature that he directed and wrote. As for the storyline, the year is 1990. Wilson Phillips, Roxette, and Madonna are topping the charts. Goodfellas, Total Recall, and Dances with Wolves are in the theater. It's 1 year before the World Wide Web was created. There's no home internet, no iPhones, so you just had to keep yourself occupied and make your own fun. There were, however, VHS tapes, and that's where Rent-A-Pal comes in. This movie follows David, a lonely bachelor who lives at home with his elderly mother and takes care of her because she has dementia. Day in and day out, it's the same routine. Make sure mom eats, doesn't do anything to cause herself harm, bathe her, put her to bed. David has no time for himself and can only really leave the house an hour at a time because of his mother's condition. He literally lives in his mom's basement. His only contact with the outside world is this video dating service called Video Rendezvous. He'll make many trips there, going back and forth. When he's there, he puts himself on tape for his dating profile. And on top of all the membership costs, he actually pays the agency to view tapes of potential matches. One particular trip to Video Rendezvous, he sees a VHS tape titled Rent-A-Pal, half buried under one of those sales bins with a friendly looking man on the cover. David decides to purchase that videotape and bring it home. What follows is a strange friendship between David and Andy, the man from the VHS tape, without ever physically meeting, of course, because Andy is just a recording on the tape. David finally has a best friend, but to what extent is he going to go to make him happy? His best friend could be masked as his worst enemy, and I guess you'll have to rent the movie to see how it all unfolds. Now, let's talk a moment about David. You completely empathize with the guy. He's an overgrown man-child with pedo glasses that's socially awkward and lives in his mom's basement. Hey, if you live in your mom's basement, that's cool. Seriously, just don't be best friends with the VHS tape. So just by looking at the guy, you feel sorry for him. He keeps getting taken advantage of by this video agency. You know, they're charging his credit card for every single little thing, and he truly loves his mother. You know, he's taking care of her 24/7 and just having no time for himself, no social life. But there's something about his demeanor that you want to stay a few steps away from him, and that's the brilliance of the acting by Brian Landis Folkins, who plays David. He's suppressing something, and you can tell. He's like a pressure cooker just waiting to blow, and in time he will. He just needs something to push him over the edge. When something goes really well for David, you can see the madness and his excitement even. It's a little overbearing. The whole concept of the Rent-A-Pal VHS tape is interesting too. Wil Wheaton, who plays Andy, the guy from the tape, acts like he's having a one-on-one conversation with the viewer, complete with full pauses to let the viewer talk back. It's so bizarre. One thing I found so clever about it is that Andy usually responded in a sad way, with sadness. Like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I find that clever because he's just going along with what they thought the target audience would be. Sad sack loners with a troubled past. And that profile exactly matches our main character, David. I love how the relationship of David and Andy starts out. At first, even David is a little embarrassed that he's essentially talking to his TV in his mom's basement. Again, I'm sorry if you live in your mom's basement. Hey, I lived in my mom's basement when I was in high school. Hey, it's okay. I'm 37 years old and have a YouTube show, so I'm doing great. Okay, so back to the story. So, yeah, he even found it very stupid at one point, but Andy started to grow on David. Once he put mom to bed, David would rush downstairs to spend time with his best bud, Andy. He'd rewind the tape a bunch of times and just have the same conversations over and over again with his best new pal. And I like how they start blurring the line of reality and fantasy the more and more David watches the tape, because Andy starts to say tailored, specific things to David, almost imprinting and manipulating the poor guy in some way. There were many times when I was watching them talk, and I had to think, I'm like, okay, is this real or is this all in David's head? The movie clearly gives us the backstory of David through his conversations with Andy, which only confirms our suspicions that David has this rage inside of him from, stemming from a shitty childhood. You really start to see the anger coming through in David as he just absolutely hits rock bottom in the movie. The last 15 minutes is bonkers. I need to mention how much I loved the retro production design and feel in this movie. How the camera would sometimes go inside the VHS tape and show us the gears turning as David was watching Rent-A-Pal. There's a scene at a roller skating rink. He's doing this whole video dating service thing that was popular in the 80s and early 90s. The costuming, even the simple action of David adjusting the tracking on his VCR. Do you remember doing that? The filmmakers really took you back to that time and did such a great job at displaying it. Now, I have to warn you, this movie is a little bit of a slow burn. Not everyone is going to appreciate the movie like I do. A lot of it takes place in his basement, showing David pretty much just talking to his TV, talking to Andy. But because David is such an intriguing character, I wanted to see how this would end. Him slipping into madness the more and more he watches the tape and sacrificing his own happiness and health to do so. It's a train wreck you see coming, and I wanted to witness the carnage. I must say, the character of Andy, I wanted to be a little bit more manipulative and evil. He did seem to get inside David's head, but I wanted him to take more advantage of David's fragile nature and make him do a bunch of terrible things. Wow, I'm an amazing human being, aren't I, for wanting that? Don't get me wrong, he does influence David to do a few things, but I think at the end, it's by David's own doing, and just the mask of his sanity has slipped. You'll see. The friendship of David and Andy in Rent-A-Pal was sort of like the friendship of Chucky and Andy, the different Andy, in Child's Play. Both relationships involved one character being very controlling, but it was more in a subtle way because it was charming at first. You have a good guy doll, and then you have this, guy on a VHS tape that's really nice in a sweater, and he's talking to you and he wants to learn about your day. So how could that be harming to anyone, right? Like I said, you'll see. Overall, I liked Rent-A-Pal. Maybe there were times in the beginning that just were a little too slow, probably because it's just, a lot of it's, again, him talking to Andy, talking to his TV in the basement. But I feel like this is a sleeper of a movie. I'll go out on a limb here and say, definitely check it out, horror fam. I believe you can rent it right now on Prime Video, Google Play, and YouTube at the moment. If you're into character-driven, kind of slow burn movies, take a chance. You know what? If you're not, take a chance. It's more of a thriller than a horror, but I still say watch it. Okay, I am out of here, my friends. I just want to say thank you so much for watching my video, watching all my videos. I love it when you come to my channel, when you comment, and especially if you thumbs up, that always helps me out. But if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I hope you do so right now. And let's be friends to the end. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at The Horror Hack. Once again, my name is Johnny. Keep supporting horror, and this has been one hack of a show.